Okay, so we're going to do problem number 15 from the extra practice puzzle for Unit 1. So boat leaves the entrance to a harbor and travels 40 miles on a bearing of 64 degrees southeast. Draw myself a compass here. And I'm going to label my starting point here. This is where my ship is starting at the harbor. And I'm traveling at a bearing of 64 degrees southeast. So that means I'm going to start at my south line here, and I'm going to swing to the east. So if I start at south and I swing 64 degrees to the east, that's telling me that this angle right here is going to be 64 degrees. So here's my ship starting at the harbor. Here's my bearing. So my ship is probably going to be somewhere down here. And if this is the path of my ship from the harbor to where it is, we know that it's traveling a total of 40 miles. And then I can make myself a right triangle here. And what I want to know is, if this is where my ship is now, I want to know how many miles to the south it's traveled and how many miles to the east it's traveled from the harbor. So I'm going to label this side as my unknown S side. And I'm going to label this side as my unknown east side, because this is going to be the distance we're traveling south, and then this is going to be the distance we're traveling east. So if I look at my triangle, I've got an angle right here. The 40 is going to be my hypotenuse. And then I can see that my south side to the 64 degrees is going to be my adjacent side. And the east side to my 64 degrees is going to be my opposite side. So I can either set up sine or cosine. It doesn't matter which one I solve for first, just pick one. So I'll solve for the south side first by using cosine. So I'm going to set up cosine of 64 degrees is equal to my adjacent side of S over my hypotenuse of 40. And then I'm going to multiply each side of the equation by 40. And that's going to give me 40 times cosine of 64, about 17.53. So that means that my ship from the harbor has traveled about 17.53 miles south. So traveled 17.53 miles to the south. And then to solve for my other side, I can use my sine ratio, since my 64 degrees is opposite my side of E. So I'm going to set up my sine ratio. So sine of 64 is equal to the opposite side of E over the hypotenuse of 40. And then use a similar solving strategy, multiply each side of the equation by 40. So 40 times the sine of 64 should be about 35.95. So that means that my ship has traveled about 35.95 miles east. So traveled 35.95 miles east. And there we go. We've answered our question.